guys. So Chiti's mentioned it's going to be about experience. Right? I think it's going to be about my story. So how I came to Ansible. That's my story. So how many of you are operational? Okay. We understand what operational requirement means. It's not multi-government. There is a whole operational side of things that we trying to avoid by creating something like that operational thing and this operational thing is different. So my operational thing is all around me. So who here actually knows how to do remote management of a server? Yes. I think everybody knows how to do SSH into the machine. So my world actually started with Telnet and then it moved on to SSH. So my presentation is regarding Ansible. So it's a new kid in a block, but I think it's sweet and very popular. So the thing of Ansible and the whole culture of configuration management came into play long time ago, in my understanding. And because I'm going to tell a story about myself. So how did I came to Ansible? So when I started out, I used to directly plug into a computer and do a serial connection and do something. Then when the machine is up, then I do manually package install this, package install that, and everything. And it brought me to up to this point, because at that time a single machine can serve a lot of things. But with time and with the computing evolution, we have moved from a physical servers to VMs and the cloud, and the provisioning part has become very less legwork. So that means we have less servers then and more time to manage it. Now we have more servers but less time to manage. So we have to do automation in any way possible. So I work in this company as a DevOps, and I realized most of the people here are not operational guys. So I tried to be funny. To make error is human. To propagate error to all servers is, in automatic way, is DevOps. Well, that's a good way to put it, but sometimes it's true. So Internet of Things about configuration management. Now I have said Ansible is a tool chain that is related to the whole ecosystem of configuration management. Who knows about configuration management? By not looking at the slides. I may have wrong definitions. What comes to your mind when you hear configuration management? Okay. Okay. That's a nice one. What's the one? Okay. What else? Configuration management is the process of standardizing resource configuration and enforcing their state across your IT infrastructure in an automated but agile way. This is a Wikipedia definition. And here the configuration and the resources are the computers, mostly. And enforcing state is the convergence model. You define something to a computer. Like you wish something to be inside a computer, then you define it, and you always wish that to be in that way, in any way possible. And that has to be done in an automated, simple, agile, incremental way. That's the purpose of configuration management. And why do we need configuration management? Like I mentioned, there used to be a small number of computers. We have more time to do handcrafted things to the computers. Now we have more computers to manage, but less time to handcraft it. So we need a configuration management that automates everything. Very late. So my story. So when I started out, it was all about console access and direct SSH access, and barely there were 2 or 3 servers, bandwidth managers, FTP server, web server, Apache web servers, and I had with me SSH remote management skills. And what I would do is I would just SSH into the machine in a black and white screen, and then I do all the things that are required or asked for. My manager is doing something, you should install Apache, so I SSH into it and I install it. That's done. So the primary benefit is the satisfaction. You get to SSH into the machine, you are seeing it right there, you SSH into it. Just before doing anything else, it was nothing. I SSH into it, I install Apache, and boom, I have a web server, working web server. So that's the satisfaction part. So that's the small scale. Then we grew. Then more servers. But my friend SSH is still working. SSH is still useful and very handy. But I realized that SSHing into every machine and then typing all the time apt-get install Apache 2, apt-get install Apache 2 was making me really mad and frustrated. And I thought, why shouldn't I just script it? I make a script, I write it once, and then I push it to all the servers, then I log in, and then I run the scripts. So that's kind of automation. It is automation because I have everything that is needed to be done on the servers in one file. The pain point that I realized then is scripts are not easily changeable. Once you define it, then you run it, and you have different set of servers, let's say database servers, app servers, application servers. So every server have defined role, and if I have one script that governs all the servers, then I'm in a problem. Because every server has its own identity and uniqueness to it. Then at the large scale, like in this company, where there are hundreds of servers. So this script thing can be done, but I would be crazy to do it. So what I realized when I had this job of coming out with something to manage all the servers that we have right now. So I was literally going crazy because I was looking at all this ecosystem, especially Shell. And I tried to learn a lot from Sachin too. He tried to teach me, but I was a bad student, I guess. I couldn't go nowhere. So I realized up to a certain point I was still doing scripts. It was working well, but it was getting tedious. It was getting way tedious. So the problem was, by the time you are doing SSHing and doing awesome things in each, you probably suffer from repetitive task injury. You get tired. So realization is, what if the machines are not homogeneous? What if I have 10 Ubuntu servers and 10 Red Hat servers? Will the script work? It probably won't. And the realization too is, what if the machines are not in the exact same state when you imposed your awesome script on them? So the assumption of the script is you are always at point A. And you need to get to point D crossing B and C. What if some servers are at step B? What if some servers are at state A? Or what if some servers are at state D? Will the script work? Will I have the convergence model? So if I run the script, will I have the probable way, deterministic way of finding out if the machines are going to be at the stage where I wanted it to be? So that was the big problem. And the nirvana, the Buddha, and everything came. The script is hard to change, and there is a concept of idempotency. क्यों idempotency भनेको? I was like, what potency? What potency?
You do it all the time, but each time it's basically doesn't matter if you do it every other time.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
the other time.
Yeah. So after the initial change, the result will stay the same no matter how many times the action is performed. It can be sometimes referred to as the convergence model. So no matter how many times you run it, the state will be the same as you desire. So how many have you seen the movie Matrix? I think everyone. One time. Trivia question. So I'm trying to elaborate on idempotency. So do you know who the Morpheus was actually searching for? No, they are not. He was not searching for the gatekeepers. He was searching for somebody who can defend gatekeepers. No, defend the whole human race and defeat gatekeepers. Neo. What was Neo? The one, exactly. That's the number one. So idempotency is, you can say it as a number one. One, the number one. Number one, literal number one. Because no matter how many times you multiply one by one, it always be the same. So that's the concept of idempotency. So the big players. When we started out, we had a lot of options, and Sachin was here. So obviously he was good with Chef, and he was learning it too. And so I delved into it. I tried to learn so many times, and you may have realized Chef is so much bigger in this slide. Not because I like it, because it is so much complex. I couldn't understand it. Even just to get to the point where you get productive, to reach that point you will have to spend at least 1 month learning its infrastructure and all the dependencies and every technical jargons it has to offer. So, and there are others too, Puppets. I heard of it, but it's an old one. We did not use it. And there is also an old one, CF Engine. I've never used it, so I don't know about it. So when I first came to know about Ansible, I looked at the documentation, I cloned the repo, and I just did sudo python setup install. Done. It's done. I couldn't believe it. So everything is like flying a kite. When I work in Ansible, I feel like flying a kite. So I have a control of a pulley. That's nothing. And the thread that connects to the kite is SSH, and the kite itself is the machine you are trying to provision. So it's like flying a kite to me. I'll come to it later on again. So what are the differences of Ansible in comparison to Chef or Puppet or anything? Have you guys did any research on Ansible? So the main problem I had with Chef is the complexity. Because I'm not a developer. My background is from operational side of things. And I know Ruby. I can understand Ruby, but I'm not good at coding Ruby. So the Chef and Puppet has their own DSL built on top of Ruby. And so for developers, it is a lucrative offer. So they sell you something saying that you are good with Ruby. So if you learn Chef, you can do operation stuff too. It will be easy for you. And what they do is define an abstract language DSL over Ruby, and try to impose that onto you, and then you learn it and try to generalize it. Like for example, in Chef there is a concept of package. So no matter which operating system you are using, Ubuntu, Red Hat, or Arc or anything, the package magically gets converted into, in case of Ubuntu, it's apt. In case of Red Hat, it is Yum. In case of Arc, it is Pacman. So that sort of in abstraction is there. Some people might enjoy it, but I did not enjoy it because I'm an operational guy. If I want to control a machine or manage a machine, I need to be aware of its environment. That's my model. So if I don't know what's the package manager for Ubuntu, I probably shouldn't be doing operational stuff. That's my whole point. Again, with hundreds of servers, there is a less chance of heterogeneity in your environment. So if you choose Ubuntu, you'll be going to be using Ubuntu for all your servers, not just app servers, not just DB servers, because it is so much easier to manage one system in multiple machines rather than different operating system on different machines, because it's such an overhead. It occurred to me, it's an overhead. And another problem with Chef is the agent. So there is a whole chicken and egg dilemma there. So for me to be able to do something with Chef, I need to land that Chef agent into the machinery first. So there is no way to bootstrap it. You will have to think in a binary terms. You will have to develop your own AMI in case if you are using Amazon Cloud, or you will have to develop your own Vagrant boxes in case you are using Vagrant for the development workflow. So there is no way Chef is any useful until and unless you have its agent in your machine. That's the main problem for me. And another problem is Ruby. Have you guys ever tried installing Ruby so that it becomes something like Python or Perl in a unique Linux machine? It is so hard. RBENV, have you ever tried it in production? If you miss a path, you're done. System will never find your Ruby in your system, although it is there. Because I don't know why Ruby community is so much backwards in terms of packages. I never understood it. They have invested into so much into a Ruby community and tool chain around it, but they never contributed anything into packaging system where you can get Ruby 2.12. In case of Ubuntu, I still cannot get Ruby 2.0 in its packages. Why wouldn't anyone try it? Because if you have a package in a system, it becomes so much easier to manage Ruby. Right now we are doing RBNB, which is just a hack. That's the main problem. And there has been some work on it, like the Omnibus package. Chef guys are using it, Omnibus package. Even with that package, it's still a hack. That's the main problem for me. So the first thing that caught me is, how do I get started with Ansible? I just install Ansible and I'm done. How is it possible? So the main difference is push versus pull. So Ansible, Puppet, and all other array of configuration management believes in pull-based convergence model. So you have your machine that controls everything, and there is a intermediary machines that has all the configurations you have defined stored in it, and there are all the other machines. So you will be pushing all your configuration into the central server, and all the other machines which needs to be provisioned will be pulling all the configuration from the central machine and running it. So basically it works like that. But in case of Ansible, it's not pull based, it's actually push based. So the minimal requirement is your own machine only. So for that, it defines a host inventory that contains all your machine's location, specifically IP address, and the playbook, which is similar to a chef group. And once you run it, it's exactly the same. You can argue about scalability, but it's not a problem until 1,000 servers. I don't see it as a problem. And I've already told there is no agent requirement in Ansible. That's the big win. SSH is so much ubiquitous in every machine. No machine comes without SSH access because everything has to be remotely controlled. And Ansible solely uses SSH to communicate everything. Everything. There is no abstraction. Python abstraction is there, but the only transport requirement is SSH, which is already everywhere. So it's actually like agentless. And another problem with Chef, I really hated it, is the JSON. I know the REST API and everything revolutionized the way we think about apps communication, but developers have pushed it to such a limit that they are using it in everywhere possible. Like when I tried Chef Solo, all the configuration were in JSON, but the JSONs are only meant for the machine consumption. It's not for the human eyes. You could probably go with INI files or the YAML file, the database configuration file, YAML file like sort, where it is easier to read. You wouldn't be thinking you might be missing one braces out of configuration when you have a JSON configuration for your application. It's a stupid move, I guess. I never get it. Why they have to use JSON everywhere? And in case of Ansible, all the configuration are Ansible's INI style. That means you have a variable and you have a value. So host equals to something 1, host equals to something 2. That's easy enough. And the YAML, you guys know YAML. I think most of you guys do. So it is like a sweet mix of technicality and readability for me. All the languages have YAML parser in it, and the way it is done in a YAML is very much user friendly. It's like reading a document, but with all the generic missing part. You don't have to explain everything. You can define array, you can define hash, everything, but it stays very readable still. That's the one plus point. And since it uses SSH as its main source, it can also be used as a mass SSH tool. So if you have 100 of servers, you can do mass SSH into it and find out something. That's the one missing part I found in Chef or Puppet or any other configuration management tool. They need the infrastructure set up to do something. So that's the concept of ad hoc commanding versus orchestration. Before you orchestrate, you might need to run some commands in the servers that you already have. So that functionality is totally missing in Chef and any other configuration management tool. In Ansible, you can run ad hoc command. Say something like, say I wanted to ping all my servers. I can just do it Ansible ping, and it will ping all the servers I define. Or I can do something in one particular server, whole play or cookbook onto it, and it can also be done. But in a Chef, no matter how you hack it, Chef Solo, Chef Server, there is no way to do ad hoc command. You'll have to define cookbook, and everything needs to be pushed, and then it has to be run. Because I'm saying so much Chef, anti-Chef thing, and it's just my experience. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. And the whole Ansible ecosystem is based on modules, like in Ruby Gem. So everything is detachable. Even if you don't have SSH, or in the future somebody comes up with something super fast than SSH, it can be plugged. So everything can be dismantled. So the transport can be dismantled, the module system can be dismantled. It means it has the infinite ability to expand itself. And plus, Because it speaks JSON between the components, you can define anything in any language. You just need to define the API, which is in JSON format, and you could be coding in Ruby, you could even use Bash, anything. And another problem let's say it's not a problem, it's a issue. So whenever I do something, I forget to document it. That's the main problem. So if I spend some time on something like 1 hour and did the thing and I successfully did something, but after 1 month I come back, then I'll have to redo it again. Somebody might say, what's the point of configuration management? It's there. But with Chef and Puppet, it's like, reading the code again. It's not like direct operational thing. Say, if I forgot some package, package that needs to be installed, which I did in 1 month back, but when after 1 month, I come back to a cookbook, then I search it, I'll have to know Ruby and everything to learn about it, because it puts an abstract layer over it, and which is a bad thing to me. So there is no option of documentation besides the Git. So Git is there, which is good, but I think operational thing needs more documentation. So I'm going to do some demo, and a lot of things are here are black and white, so bear with me. For you guys. So as I told you, I have Ansible. This is the main command. I think everybody knows Vagrant, right? At least a familiarity. So I'm spinning up some servers from this Vagrant tool. It will spin me up 2 servers with IP 3310 and 3311, and it will be using latest 14.04. Let me spin it. So I have the machine that I need to provision. So what I need is Ansible command, right? And the inventory, which I have it like this. So this is my inventory. This is the host name, human readable host name. This is the IP, and this is the other details which I'm just trying to be safe with. Lots of my servers are not in 22 ports, so I'm mentioning it. And my intended user is Vagrant, and so this is the inventory. I only have 2 servers for now. So, and the playbook is something like cookbook is like this. So this is all that is required for Ansible. So this is like a cookbook. So what it's saying is, I want to run this playbook on all the servers that are available in my inventory. I want to use sudo, yes, and the remote user that I will be using is Vagrant. And what the tasks recipes I will be applying to the machine is name, pushes user key to roots on Vagrant boxes. Then I iterate over it, and then I check if the resolver is working properly, and then I register it if it fails, and based on that I define a logic. So what I wanted to say is like this is so much more user friendly than Chef. So if I run it, so what it is trying to do is it is trying to play that playbook onto the machine. It first gathers the fact about the machine, like how much RAM it has, CPUs and everything, just like in Chef or High. And then the play is played onto it. The things that I wanted to install or things that I wanted to change in the machines are played onto it. So here the elegant part for me is the documentation. Just like this. This is the documentation. So if you ever change anything, I will be putting a documentation in it. So even if I come back after 6 months, I'll still be able to read it. And another thing about the Ansible is it never takes you away from operational knowledge. For example, if Chef has defined some sort of a abstract language to define authorized key to log into a machine that works in every machine agnostic of distros, but in Ansible it tries to educate you about the operational knowledge. For you to be able to SSH into a machine, you have to be providing the authorized key, which should be available in SSH folder. And with that SSH folder, I will be putting that into a user vagrant SSH folder. That sort of knowledge is required for Ansible. It will not make you operational friendly just because you know configuration management. There is always a requirement for a minimal knowledge of OS that you will have to be using. For example, if I do it like this, let's say I'm adding something. Let's say I need this is my documentation. So instead of saying something like, in Chef you have a package command which works in every distro, but Ansible goes the other way by saying you should be knowing something about the servers you will be managing. So it says, I know it's Ubuntu, so I need to run apt command. So name should be htop, and what's the state? What's the state it should be installed? So if I run it right now, it should install it in all the machines that I have in my inventory. So the color coding change also notifies you about the changes. So if it is green, it did not do nothing. So it was already like that. And if it's other than green, it means it changed some. So you have the visual notification, you have the documentation, everything is there. It's so simple that you can get started in half an hour. Okay, I think this is the demo. This is done. Any Q&A?
Is there a specific point that you would prefer Chef over Ansible? Very fast.
No, I don't. At this point, I don't want to go to Chef. It's like going back to Windows machine after using Mac OS X. Really. But there could be some point where I would prefer tool-based convergence. I would consider a Chef then, but it's too complex for me. I'm not a one-man army. I need to raise my members into my team, and I should be learning something I'm good at teaching. If I'm not good at Chef, my guys won't be good at Chef. If I'm good at Ansible, my guys will be good at Ansible. If something is so much easy to learn, I will learn it quickly. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it. There's nothing much in it. Yes, it's pull based. It's push based. So if you need a pull based solution, you'll have to do something like cron jobs. Well, it's a new project. It's only 1.5 year old, and a lot of things are being built. Although it's so much complete that you can do almost anything like Chef, but it's still incomplete. So many things are moving around, which is so obvious in startup.
6 months, so will be able to translate your knowledge of actually within a few months. Will you have learned that skills for the last 6 months?
No, actually, last 6 months I prepared few things, but in last 6 months I was trying to teach all other guys in my team regarding Ansible. So if you give 2 hours, you will be able to do a lot of things that you won't be able to do in 2 months in Chef.
So if I have different kind of machines, will it work same?
Yes, but you will have to define it because it has a there's one section where I showed you this gathering part. So Ansible likes to know the machine you are trying to provision. So it collects every available info about the machine from the machine and puts it at your disposal. So you define a logic like, if the host operating system is Ubuntu, run this. Otherwise, run this. You can define those sort of interactions.
Any library with Docker?
No, it's Docker is a different space. It's a different space. It will make these kind of workflows redundant, I guess, because you will be building a binary stuff that you will be shipping directly to production. Right now, what we are doing is the production environment and your development environment has different requirements, and your application requirement, which in case of Ruby on Rails is defined by bundler, but the whole Ruby, the runtime environment, to be able to run in an operating system, it has to be facilitated by the operating system it will be running in. So those things are different in current scenario. What Docker is trying to do is merge those currents, those two fields into one and push it as a binary. It's a different thing.
We were calling Ansible and Docker together, maybe like homegrown locally.
Yes, it's very possible. It's very possible.
Yeah.
It will make every other tool defunct.
So how is companies making money?
Docker is making a lot of money, but Ansible is not actually.
Because
Because
Ansible is small. Is there a there will be a big side of that?
they are offering a hosted Ansible, which actually provides you with a web UI for your command line tools, basically, and it provides you a REST API so that you can call it from anywhere. So it's like making your developer machine up in the cloud with the web UI, web driven, so that you can define the role. So even if you are not a operational guy, you could ask somebody to push some buttons. So that's their strategy right now.
It's not like a premium version like Red Hat, open source version, it's more just Ruby, there's no actual functionality.
None. They are working on it.
Does it act like the dev server?
Not exactly actually.
Like you have to change the application?
It does not act like the Chef server. So the functionality, everything is the same. It just exposes that functionality via API. That's why they were able to build a UI app over command line app.
Is he gonna win for sure?
I think Docker gonna win. Docker gonna win. I don't know about Ansible. Docker is something that's gonna change everything. That's gonna change everything. But till then, we still have to use these tools. No, but it's like gaining a weight. So when you are very light, everything can be changed on the go. So once you become heavy, gravity also works on the opposite way for you. Because we have a big team, we have already invested so much into this infrastructure, and although you know that something is going to change, it will not happen overnight. You still need a way to be backward compatible with the team that you have and the infrastructure you have. So it will be phase-wise. It cannot happen instantly. When you are a small team, it's possible. When you have big team, it's not possible. What else? Nothing? Nothing? यसमा जोड्ने हो